Shalom friends, welcome to another shiur in Mesillat Yesharim, the Path of the Just, written by the Ramchal. Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato lived in the 18th century, a great Kabbalist, and of course all the material that we're learning here, though it is Musar, as we work on ourselves, there are many Kabbalistic secrets, and we just need to read and pay attention to the subtlety of some of these messages that give us an insight into really some deeper concepts and subjects that we'll come across. I'm Eliyahu Shir from Chesed Ve'emet, broadcasting from the holy city of Yerushalayim, and you can find my site on www.lovingkindness.co. So here we begin. We're still on chapter number 1. Don't worry about it. There's a lot to learn. We said last time in our last shiur that one of the things about the creation of this world is that God has created it in a way that he wants everything to be uplifted. And therefore, whatever we find in the world, we need to make use of to uplift towards God. 2 examples were given in our last lesson. The first example is that God had created a beautiful light at the beginning of creation, and he hid the light away for the tzaddikim. And the Torah is teaching us a secret here. The light is so beautiful, it's so powerful, that God doesn't want everybody to have access to it. He only wants people who are on the path to making use of the light in the right way. For example, we don't give a child a powerful torch, a powerful light, a fiery light to play with at home, because he's going to cause a fire. Instead, we give him a flashlight, and he walks around the house and he flashes his flashlight, and good for him. Let him enjoy the flashlight. If we were to give him the fire, it would be dangerous. He's not a responsible person. So God took this light, this unbelievable light, which was a person could see from one side of the world to the other, and he hid it away only for the righteous. Greatness has to be hidden away only for the great, because God wants us to make use of all things in creation for a higher purpose. So the beautiful light is hidden only for those who are prepared to use it for a good purpose. Then we continued and we learned another concept. When Yaakov slept over one night outside, he was sleeping outside, and he had to put the stones underneath his head or around his head, however we understand it. And the Torah tells us in the Talmud that Rabbi Yitzhak said that all of the stones began to argue amongst themselves, each one saying and fighting for the right and the privilege that Yaakov would rest his head upon those stones. Why? Because all of creation desires to be included within the surface of the tzaddik. Everything wants to rise up to a higher level. That is the nature of creation. Let us take a look at the food that we eat. Isn't it interesting to note that we have soil? The soil is very low. And then on the soil, we have plants. The plants grow on the soil. And then from the plants, the cattle come along and they eat the plants. And thereafter, a human being comes and he eats the animal. And thereafter what? He goes to the bathroom. He goes on a festive journey somewhere. What does he do with the energy that he has gained through all of this? All of creation desire to be uplifted. The soil desires to be uplifted into the plants. The plant desires to be uplifted into the animal. The animal desires to be uplifted into the human being, who will take that energy after being consumed within the body to be used for holy things. The stones desire that the tzaddik's head should rest upon them. The light desires that the tzaddik should make use of it in his service towards God. V'hine, and behold, al ikar hazeh, on this point, our rabbis already pointed out to us in the Midrash in Kohelet, She'amru, they said, see the work of God, says Kohelet. At the time that the Holy One, blessed be He, created the first man, Natzlo, he took him, ve'cheziru al kol ilanei Gan Eden, and he brought him to see all the trees of the Garden of Eden. V'omar lo, and he said to him, Re'ei ma'asai, see my deeds, Kamana'im, how beautiful they are. Umeshubachim, how praiseworthy they are. And said God to the first man in the world, V'kol ma shebarati, everything that I've created, bishvilcha barati, I've created everything for you. Tein datcha, pay attention. Shelo tekalel, that you shouldn't mess up anything. V'tachariv es olami, and you will destroy my world. When a person takes something in creation and he does good with it, he lifts himself up and he lifts up all of creation. When he takes something in creation and he degrades it, he degrades himself and he degrades creation as well. Klalosha davar, let's look at it inside. The rule is as follows. Ha'adam lo nivra, a person is not created, ba'avur matzavo ba'olam hazeh, for his station in this world. Ela, but rather, ba'avur matzavo ba'olam haba. A person is created in this world for the sake of his station in the next world. Ela, but rather, shematzavo ba'olam hazeh, his situation in this world, hu emtza'i lematzavo ba'olam haba. It is a middle point for the sake of his station in the world to come. Shehu taklito, which is his purpose. God's purpose for man is not this world. This is not the world of God's final end to itself. This is the means to the end. The end is in the next world when the soul separates from the body. This world, 70 years, 80 years, 120 years, after that, life is over. What were we doing here? Well, this is the chapter that we're talking about. The obligation of a person in this world, the duty of a person in this world. What does he have to do? He has to think about his purpose. He is not here for fun and games. Although there are fun and games to be had, God blesses the world with all sorts of wonderful things. There are ice creams to be had. There are chocolates. There's cake. There are all sorts of nice treats in the world. But that is not the end of the world. That is not the end of our existence, to accumulate wealth and more wealth, and to be the wealthiest person, and to be the healthiest person, and to be the strongest person, and to be the biggest person. That is not the ultimate goal of life. We use all of these things as a means to attain the goal. What is the goal? The next world. And how do we get there? By making use of everything in this world and uplifting it to a higher purpose. Al-Kain, therefore, Timtza Ma'amarei Chachamenu Zal, you'll find in the sayings of our rabbis, Rabim Kulam B'Signon Echad, the majority of them all come about in the same way. Medamim Ha'olam Hazeh L'Makom Uzman Ha'achana, they compare this world and its place, this world to the place and the time of preparation, V'Ha'olam Haba, and the world to come, L'makom ha'menucha, that is the place of rest. V'achilas hamuchan kvar, and the eating of what we have prepared already. Let's give an example. Today, many people begin their lives with one intention, to retire. And they begin their whole process of life at the age of 16, 17, 18, or 20, and they begin to save up their money. And you ask them, what are you doing this for exactly? He says, well, I'll tell you the truth. When I get to 50 or 60, whatever age he wants to do this at, he says, I want to retire. You say to him, but isn't life about working? You should work all day long. Keep yourself busy and make income and serve all of humanity for the rest of your life. He says, what? He says, for me, I want to get to a level where I'll be able to one day put everything aside and say work was for the purpose of ultimately gaining the income I needed so that I could retire. Retiring is what I really wanted to do. Why do you want to retire, you ask this person? He says, I want to be on holiday. I want to relax. I want to take life easy. Well, why don't you do it now? No, I can't do it now. I haven't got the means to do it yet. I need to put in the effort. And once I put in the effort and I've acquired the means, I'll be able to retire. So you tell the fellow, all right, so how much did you earn? He says, I earned $10,000 this month. He says, well, how much are you going to use up? And what are you going to do? He says, I'm going to use up $4,000. I'm putting $6,000 aside. $6,000, you say? That's a lot of money to be losing out on now. Surely you should put more into what you're doing now and put a little bit aside. Don't put so much aside. Enjoy what you've got. He says, enjoy what I've got. You don't understand something about life, he tells this other fellow. You can be one of two types of people. One person says, live for the moment and carry on living for the moment. You'll always be stuck like that. And the other person says, think smart. Start investing your money correctly now, so that by the time you're 50, you'll be able to draw it all out in one shot and say, I can retire. I don't have to work any longer. I don't have to keep myself busy because I've thought ahead of time what life would be like. It is no different for the person who values his soul and values what real life is about. Real life is not this world at all. Real life is the world to come. But the only way a person can get there is to begin to save up and to appreciate that even though there are certain joys within this world, ultimately what he needs to be doing all the time as he progresses through his life journey is to be saving up for the world to come. The ultimate moment of retirement, when a person sees that all the mitzvahs that he did, all the Torah that he studied, is saved up for him in the world to come, which is what God wants. Just as a person imagines that he wants to retire in this world so he can take life easier, and that the purpose of the work is not for the work itself. The purpose of the work is to get to his goal. His goal is to retire. So too a person should appreciate that in this world is just a miniature comparison of what it's really like in the next world. Ultimately, the next world is the world of goodness, the world of rewards, the world of kindness. But to get there is a journey, and we need to save up for it. This is the world of preparation. V'hu ma she'amru, and this is what our rabbi said, ha'olam hazeh doime leprosdo. This world is comparable to a corridor. We're only working through the corridor. We're walking through the corridor at the moment. Kamo she'amru zal, as our rabbi said, hayom la'aseisam. Today we perform the mitzvot. It's not so easy. Today we go off to work. We go off to work. I think there were some dwarfs who used to sing a song about that, saying how they would go off to work. That's what life is about. But ultimately, umachar lekabel secharam. Tomorrow we receive the rewards. Mi shetarach, as it says in the Gemara, in Avodah Zorah, a person who has put in the effort to work be'erev Shabbos, on the eve of Shabbos, yeichal b'Shabbos. He will have what to eat on Shabbos. Did we ever see a person who waits until 10 to 6? Shabbos comes in at 6 o'clock. And at 10 to 6, he says, I'm going to start preparing the food for Shabbos. I'm going to start preparing my garments for Shabbos. I'm going to start preparing my Torah drosha for Shabbos. No. The whole week he engages in preparation. Come Sunday, already he starts buying food for Shabbos. What are we going to cook this Shabbos, he says to himself, or he says to his wife, or the wife says to herself, what are we going to cook this Shabbos? What garments do we have? Is everything clean? Does anything need to go into the wash, to the dry cleaners? Do we have a shul that we can go to? Everything has to be prepared. How do we prepare the food that we're going to be eating on Shabbos, on the blech, so that we don't have to do any cooking on Shabbos? A person who prepares before Shabbos will have what to eat on Shabbos. But a person who doesn't prepare will not have food to eat. This world is comparable to the dry land. And the next world is comparable to the sea. On the dry land, things are hard and strong and rocky. In the sea, as one gets into it, there's beauty and fish. And it's a whole different world that we're going to enter. This is the world of dry land. And the next world, we dive into the sea and we experience life as we've never experienced it before. And there are many other such examples that we can speak about. But today, and you'll see, in truth, no person who has intelligence can really believe that the real purpose of a person, is there anybody who really thinks that life is all about this world? What is life for a person in this world? Those people who think about life in this world seriously will realize that life's not fun and games. Even though we make out that we want to have life as fun and games, The majority of our lives are not spent in a way of absolute enjoyment, of fantasy, of kindness, of happiness. That's not what life is. We go through so many trials every single day. Or mihu shesameach, who is the person who is so happy? V'shalav mamash, and he's filled with peace. Ba'olam hazeh, in this world. Yemei shenosenu bahim shivim shana. The days of our years in this world is 70 years. V'im b'gevuros, and with strength, shmonim shana. We are blessed with 80 years. V'rabam amal v'aven, and the majority of them are filled with toil and pain. They're hard. How much pain the average person goes through in his life, obtaining a living, dealing with people who think so differently to one. And then perhaps one has a holiday of 3 weeks at the end of the year, perhaps, if he's lucky. And life is too fast. And life is filled with trials and troubles and difficulties, insults, hardships. Going to the doctor, having an injection, an operation, the difficulties and the trials of life. Who can say that this is the purpose of what God wants? This is not much of a life. It's hard. And the reason is simple. It is because this world is not the ultimate goal of where God wants our souls to be. The next world is where we are going to receive the rewards for the effort that we've gone through in this world. It's true that in this world, we can have some chocolate, we can have an ice cream, we can have a piece of cake, we can drive a comfortable car, we can live happily. But we must never forget that that's not the goal of life. And the fact that we go through so much hardship is a proof in itself that this is not the goal of life. But God, who is totally good, wants to bless us with complete good. And that we receive in the next world. As he says here in this, let's just finish this one paragraph. This world is filled with so many types of distress, sicknesses, pains, and burdens. And after all this, where does a person go? Does he suddenly become young and he can enjoy all the things that he'd worked so hard for in life? Hamavet, he dies. Not even 1 in 1,000 ever finds that there is an increase in this world of pleasures and truthful peace and comfort. And so to himself, even if he gets to 100 years, it's as if he's already finished and he's nullified from this world. He has no purpose any longer. His life is over. Isn't it what elderly people often say? Grandparents who are now much older, and they're talking to the grandchildren, they say, you have your life ahead of you. You've got so much to do, but me, my life is finished. Whatever I've become, I've become. I can't change my life anymore. I cannot start studying Torah at this age. I'm 95 years old and I'm going to start studying Torah. My life is finished. And now it's for you to live your life. Life happens so fast. Let us not forget, this world is only the corridor. We need to make use of each moment that we have towards the goal of entering the palace, where the ultimate reward is to be given to us in that next world. This is a world of hardship, struggle, challenge. Nobody says it's easy. But if we do things correctly, we merit to enter into this next world where the soul is stripped from the body and we receive a tremendous reward for all of our efforts that we've had to have gone through in this world. Thanks very much for joining me. We've reached the end of the shiur. I'm Eliyahu Sher from Chesed Ve'emet. My site www.lovingkindness.co. If you've enjoyed this shiur, please click on the like button, thumbs up button, and make a positive comment below. Tell me some of your concerns that you feel in the comment section, something that you've been going through in life that you found as a challenge, and now perhaps you see it in a different light, or see the value, and that maybe things in this world aren't exactly what you felt it to be, that there is a higher purpose to life. I'd love to hear your comments, questions, and I'd love to comment on something back. If you have a question, I'd be delighted to respond. Please share this video with family and friends, and come and check what we're doing at lovingkindness.co. and become a partner in our activities. Help us to continue the work that we're doing. We'd like to offer even more videos, more shiurim, and of course, if you'd like to take part, please be in touch with me and feel free to join these shiurim and anything else that you might want to make a shiur of. I'd be delighted to teach and make a new group of something else. Thanks for joining me. I wish you everything of the best, and I look forward to a shiur again in the near future. Bye-bye. Shalom.